Well, it's a very good morning to some of you, a very good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, wherever you are listening to this podcast and this webinar all around the world. Welcome to the Coaching Cafe. My name is Natalie Ashdown from Open Door Coaching, and I'm joined by Paula Jones Hunt. Hello, Paula.
Hello, everyone.
We are talking today about critical thinking in the age of AI and the role of coaching. And I'm very excited to get into our presentation today and very excited to give shout outs to everyone. Before we all join the line and record this session, we find out where people are dialing in from. We've got Perth, Sydney, Auckland, Melbourne, Bangalore, Tokyo, Brisbane, Hong Kong, all around the world you're joining us. So whether you're listening to this live here with us or on your favorite streaming service, we say welcome. And we just had New York join us. So I'm assuming it's freezing cold. No, it's going to be warm and morning, early morning. Arizona's just joined us, so welcome everyone. Before we begin, as always, we acknowledge the traditional owners, the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, their continuing connection to the land, waters, and communities of Australia and the lands from all around the world, as you know, that you might be joining us today. We pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. We just have New York joining us, Arizona, Virginia, Perth, the list goes on. But today, let's focus on our agenda. We're continuing our Coaching Cafe series where we started off talking about the trends, the 2026 trends, and the importance of leadership capability now more than ever. And today, we're thinking about one of the top trends, which is critical thinking, and specifically its relationship to AI. We're going to be thinking about that and also the critical role that coaching plays in developing critical thinking, not only in ourselves, but in the workplace and in people that we're coaching. If you are new to the Coaching Cafe, every week we say welcome to you, welcome to our community. We're all about sharing a learned experience and creating this shared learning experience together, having thought-provoking conversations like we're having today. And if you are here to collect ICF then continuing coach education units, they're available at the end of the session. Just stay on the line if you're listening to this live. If you are a regular to the Coaching Cafe, welcome back. You know, we love coming here together at this time every Friday, most Fridays, to share these conversations with you. And as always, feel free to interact with us via the chat box. Well, here we go. Let's talk about the trend. If anyone listened to Paula presenting last week on emotional intelligence, then you would have heard Paula say that the top trend in leadership for 2026 is thinking about emotional intelligence and social intelligence. And anyone that didn't catch up with Paula's Coaching Cafe last week, I really strongly recommend it. Thank you, Paula. I have listened to it and I really did enjoy it. Today, we are thinking about the trends in leadership, as I said, and we're taking this from the Harvard Business Impact 2025 Global Leadership Development Study. They asked managers, it was a very broad scale, a very global study called Fast, Fluid, and Future Focused: The Building of the Collective Intelligence of Humans and Machines. Quite a compelling read if you're able to pick it up. And they asked people how important our leadership capability and skills in meeting business needs in 2025 and beyond. And I'm pointing out that 40% of people, of respondents said it's more important. So 40% more important, that concept of synthesizing and interpreting complex information. So that is one of the top three leadership capabilities after emotional and social intelligence and managing polarization in the workplace. Straight after that, the top leadership capability from this survey was synthesizing and interpreting complex information, which we're calling critical thinking. More than that, though, if you actually look at any of the core leadership competencies and capability frameworks that we see in organizations, you will see critical thinking embedded as a core leadership capability and a competency. For example, in the Public Service Commission, the APSC, this is here in Australia, in the integrated leadership system, if you look up the ILS and the Public Service Commission, you will see critical thinking as a core leadership capability built into the integrated leadership system. If you happen to be in New South Wales, so I know a lot of you are dialing in from all around the world, but if you're in one of our southern states here in Australia, the New South Wales Public Sector Capability Framework has critical thinking built into the capability framework. If you are in Victoria, our home state, the Victorian Public Service Leadership Capability Framework also has critical thinking built in. So you can pretty well go to most, and I'm saying most, it's a big generalization, you can catch me out probably, but if you look at competency and capability frameworks, you are going to see critical thinking built into it. And particularly in our age of I, critical thinking, the top three skills, don't forget, has really become the thing that emotional intelligence, yes, critical thinking has become the thing that we are coaching a lot around at the moment, particularly in the age of AI. Also, for those people that are looking up Australian Public Service job descriptions, selection criteria, in particular, have a look for those people, have a look at EL1, EL2, and SES for our interstate, our international guests. These are the executive levels of the Australian public sector, so our government. Look up the job descriptions and selection criteria, and you'll see critical thinking as the core competency there. So this is why we need to bring these coaching conversations and bring these coaching cafes to you, because this is what's happening in our workplace, and the challenge around critical thinking versus AI and how do we coach leaders to become critical thinkers is one of the number one conversations that we're having, and one of the number one conversations and things we need to think about as coaches in our organizations. Well, in the top three. So, with that in mind, we're going to take a moment to define what we are talking about when we think about critical thinking in the workplace. And this is a synthesis of all the research that we've done. We came up with this as our definition. Critical thinking in the workplace is the ability to engage in deliberate, reflective, and reasoned thought to make sound decisions, to solve problems, and if you love it just like I do, to generate innovative ideas. So that ability to engage in deliberate, reflective, reasoned thought to make sound decisions, solve problems, and generate innovative ideas, that's what we're talking about when we're thinking about critical thinking. For us, it goes beyond accepting information, reacting impulsively, and it involves questioning assumptions, evaluating evidence, and thinking of the wider context before acting. And anyone on the line, if you're thinking, well, what's that got to do with AI? All of a sudden, if you're like me, we think instantly to the link to AI, where we pop something into an AI chatbot, we put in some information, we instantly accept that information, and then it turns into a presentation. And this is the role that we have as coaches in critical thinking. It's not just to accept what AI has given us, it's actually to question assumptions, evaluate the evidence, and consider a wider context as well. So for us, and this is the conversation I've been having with a lot of leaders, critical thinking can only exist in a high trust, psychologically safe workplace where we have a growth mindset and we're encouraging a growth mindset. Because if you think about it, otherwise, critical thinking in the workplace is just seen as negative and a fixed mindset. Oh, they're just being negative. So if I'm actually questioning assumptions, if I'm evaluating the evidence, if I'm evaluating and analyzing what AI has generated and asking questions to solve problems, to generate better ideas, if I'm doing that and I don't have a high trust, psychologically safe environment, then I'm just going to be seen as negative, being critical, having a fixed mindset. So there's a really strange juxtaposition, I think, going on here. So, in the context of AI, what we're talking about and what we're going to be talking about with our coaching as well is that this is not just about what data is being produced in AI, it's about how we are analyzing, thinking, and responding to what's being produced through AI. And of course, it's what we do with the outputs of AI. So it's how we're using our machine-based learning or our AI chatbots or whatever we're doing from an AI perspective to actually analyze, think, respond, be deliberate, be reflective. And of course, coaching is going to enable all of that. Paula, I'm going to deliberately pause because, as always, keen to hear your thoughts. And I can see you smiling. And people, please feel free to pop your thoughts into the chat box as we go along as well.
Yeah, I think this is actually a really important part of the use of AI is the critical thinking that the human applies to what they're receiving. And it actually goes beyond that too. I think it's a starting point. So it's what the human inputs and asks for and then receives information and then how they apply critical thinking to what they've received. Because in some of the work I've done, I often find that AI tells you what you want to hear, but critical thinking says, I don't want to hear what I know or what I want think you think I want me to hear. I want to know all of it so that I can make really good informed decisions and I can really be comfortable with what I'm putting forward. And I don't think that skill is going to go away anytime soon. We also want our managers to be able to look at information and critically assess it before they go and make a decision. It links into decision making for me as well, that says, what do I know about this information? What don't I know about this information? What more do I need to know about this information? And I think that all links in to this particular topic. And managers we are in such a fast pace that we need to be making decisions really quickly. And the better people can get at that leaders can get at thinking about things critically, they're going to more often make a better decision. But linking it through to Natalie in that space of, I often hear people say, oh, I'm just going to play devil's advocate, which can have a negative notion in the workplace because it looks like you are just doing it for the sake of being obstructive. But really, if we've got a growth mindset, it's like, okay, well, let's look at what we don't have. But if we don't create that environment in the first place, it does have that negative impact.
Yes, and I agree with you a lot, Paula. And the questions come up in our chat here. Thank you, Radhika. You said, what words can we use to create a safe environment whilst questioning information presented so individuals don't feel questioned, but that it's a partnership to greatness? I love what you've said there, Radhika. Thank you. And I think that's about setting our positive intention here. My positive intention is to help us make a sound decision. It's to solve these problems. It's to generate innovative ideas. So, how do you feel about me asking you some questions so that we can get this thinking going? And of course, when you say how do you feel about that question, that might not be exactly the question you ask because how they feel about it might be uncomfortable. But I think it is around, can we set up an environment that allows us to talk freely? What do you need to talk freely? What do I need to talk freely? What do we need together so that we can create this environment where we're having robust conversations, where great things come from it, that we're not taking things personally, that we're not taking things defensively. And anything that we can do to set up that conversation up front, I think is really super important. And we can ask each other those questions. How will we partner? As Radhika says so beautifully, how will we partner today to have thought-provoking conversations to really solve these problems? What do we both need in order to do that? And the interesting thing is, of course, there's many benefits of critical thinking, isn't it? We do make better decisions. We have greater innovation, improved collaboration. There's a high tendency for adaptability. Ethical leadership comes into critical thinking as well. So critical thinking is about thinking about what we are doing and whether it's meeting our ethical leadership standards. It's not about me knocking your ideas and criticizing your ideas. So I make a big distinction between critical thinking and criticism, which just drags people down. It's about risk management as well. So as soon as we start thinking about critical thinking in terms of better decisions, better innovation, improved collaboration, adaptability, being adaptable, ethical leadership, and let's put on a risk management hat, all of a sudden these conversations turn into conversations which I'm more likely to have than what we could associate critical thinking with is just being criticizing, the black hat, the devil's advocate, that kind of thing. So what we want to share with you as a way of thinking about this, and by the way, this is a module in our Diploma of Leadership Coaching. So we have a whole module, and you get a unit of competency where we focus on coaching in critical thinking. What we want to share with you in the time we have available is the behaviors of a person who is showing up as a critical thinker with that mindset of critical thinking to grow, develop, create innovation, create better thinking, etc. And what you will also hear is actually the role of the coach. So I want to use this slide and we'll step through this quickly with you. But as we do this, you can think of your role as the coach and we'll generate some great coaching questions off this as well. That's how we want to play with this little slide and the thoughts we've put up here. So the behaviors of a critical thinker. A person who is demonstrating and behaving in a critical thinking manner in that positive mind growth mindset will be asking purposeful, clarifying questions such as what are we really trying to solve here? So you can instantly see that that is what we do as coaches. So if we're coaching managers in the workplace, we're coaching other coaches, whatever perspective we're taking from our coaching. If we're an executive coach, coaching a person who we have a brief from, then you can see straight up that's actually part of our role, isn't it? It's to ask purposeful, clarifying questions such as what are we really trying to solve here, or what's your goal, or having thought about that, what's your thinking now? How has your thinking changed? Can you see that even when we think about this one behavior that we want to see in the workplace, it generates our thinking about our role of our coach, ourselves as coaches, and then, of course, it generates all the coaching questions that come out of that as well. Paula, do you want to share the next one?
Yeah, so am I going across or down? I'm going across, Natalie.
Okay.
Challenging the status quo by asking, why are we doing it this way? And this is one of my favorite questions in the workplace because you often hear, well, we've always done it that way. Okay, so what's the reason we've always done it that way? What are the benefits we get from always doing it that way? What are we not getting when we always do it that way? And it really digs into that. Again, it sits in that coaching space so beautiful. It's about saying, I get that we do, but let's really critically think about what's the reason we do it that way.
Yes, and you can see I get excited, as you know, just by listening to all those great coaching questions because I'm a total nerd and I love generating coaching questions that can really help us. And of course, this will be in the context, it will be in the moment, it will be in responding directly to what our coachee or our counterpart is actually sharing with us. So it's a way of thinking about generating the questions as well. And our role as coaches is to challenge the status quo, is to challenge the current thinking. And those coaching questions that you've just shared with us, Paula, are wonderful to try to do that. So, what I encourage you all coaches on the line to do is think about each of these elements and think about the coaching questions you would actually generate. How great would that be? The next one is seeking multiple viewpoints before making a decision. Hopefully, you can hear the coaching questions that jump out of that straight away. If I am coaching a person to be thinking critically, then I will be coaching them to seek multiple viewpoints before making that decision. I'm behaving like that if I am a critical thinker as well. So you see how we're using this model in both ways. So seeking multiple viewpoints before making a decision. Who do you need to, who else needs to be part of this decision? What other viewpoints do you need to consider? What other viewpoints are you missing? Prior to making this decision, what else do you need to make a great, robust decision? What else, what other viewpoints might challenge your decision and lead to a greater outcome? You see, we just generate all these wonderful coaching questions just by thinking about the behavior of critical thinking and then our role as the coach. Go on, Paula, would you like to choose another one?
Sure, we weigh evidence and data rather than jumping to conclusions. And this is where we're helping, whether we're doing it for ourselves or we are doing it with the coachee, we're looking at thinking about what does this information mean for you? How else, rather than just jumping to that conclusion, what are we making this mean? How can we use this information? What are we adding to this information? What haven't we included in this information to be able to make this decision? And thinking about how are we weighting this based on who's given us the information?
Yes, and if we link this directly to AI, you can see the importance already because the question that I would ask straight away is what data was put into the AI to generate this information? What's the weight of the evidence? So what evidence did we look at? So AI, and I'm not just talking about chatbots, I'm talking about all sorts of the use of AI across our workplaces as well. So if AI is spitting out reports, how is that? Where's the evidence of that? What's the weightings behind it? So rather than jumping to conclusions just based on the highlights or the headlines, as I say, let's look at the data. Let's look at the underneath. And I was just having a conversation out to dinner the other night about that, where we need people to critically think about the data that's actually been generated and not just the headlines. So there's lots of coaching that we can actually do from that perspective as well. Let me choose the next one. I'm going to choose the next one on the slide. So a critical thinker, behavior of a critical thinker, it's staying calm under pressure and it's avoiding reactive decision making. So here, what we're thinking about the obvious questions in our role as the coaches. How can you stay calm under pressure? How can you avoid reactive decision making? What's your reaction to the decision making? What are you feeling? What do you need in order to make a good, strong decision here? When you are reacting to something, what's happening for you? What's causing that? What values potentially are being danced on, as we say? So, what value is this in conflict with? Things like that. You can think about all those questions that you can generate just from thinking about this one behavior. Paula, I know you love distinguishing between fact, opinion, and assumption.
Yes, and just in regards to that, staying calm under pressure, it links so beautifully into the emotional intelligence that we were talking about last week as well. But yes, distinguishing between fact, opinion, and assumption. So looking at it is where did this information come from? What assumptions have you made about this information? What is a fact versus an opinion? How are you weighting the facts and the opinions and the assumptions? So there's lots of ways about checking, is this something that I'm making it mean something else, or is it actually something that we know to be a fact?
Great question. So all of those questions we're thinking about these are the behaviors of critical thinking. So if I'm a critical thinker in the workplace, I'll be distinguishing between facts, opinions, and assumptions. I'll be in a psychologically safe environment asking questions about this. I can actually ask, what assumptions have we made here, if any? Now, if we are coaching a person, we could ask that question of the person we're coaching as well. What assumptions have you made here, if any? Now, it's important that I add the if any to this because otherwise it sounds like a leading question and it sounds quite judgmental. So I am watching my tone here. What, if any, assumptions might you be making? And so the coach is asking that question, as we say, without attachment, without judgment. And because we have created that psychologically safe cocoon that we're coaching within, We're able to ask the challenging and the stretching questions. We can do this with anyone we're coaching in the workplace if we create that trust. Okay, we've got two more to share with you to think about. The next one is making connections between different ideas, teams, or departments. Now, of course, I love this idea because I love making connections, joining the dots between different ideas, teams, or departments, or organizations across the world, potentially, pieces of research, etc., so that we can bring more solid, interesting, expansive thinking to the work we're actually doing. Who else is thinking about this? What are they thinking? What kind of contrary opinions do I need to sit with and reflect on so that I think we are creating a full experience of our thinking? So, all of these coaching questions drop out. The role of the coach is to enable those coaching reflections with our coachee if that's what they want to be thinking about or talking about. As I said at the beginning, this is not, oh, today we're going to coach on critical thinking. It's about how do we use our coaching skills to expand the thinking of our coachees. Now, in an AI world, AI can make the connections very quickly for us, which is wonderful. And it cuts down a lot of the time and it cuts down a lot of the grunt work that we have to do that, even 6 months ago we would have had to do. What we're interested in now is now that we've got that data set or whatever it is that AI is producing, what's the connection between ideas, teams, and departments? And that's where our own human machine, not human thinking comes into it. Paula, take us through the last one there.
Well, the last one is articulate reasoning clearly when justifying decisions. And this is it's not about defending your decision, but it's actually being able to clearly delineate how it is you came to that decision, what was important when you were making that consideration, and being able to talk about that so that people can see that it is a well thought out decision, that you have critically thought. It's sort of like that linkage at the end that says, I've critically thought about this, and this is how I've come to this decision.
Yes, and you can hear just naturally through what we're talking about all the coaching questions dropping out. So, what is your reasoning? If you were to explain this to someone who didn't have an idea about what you're talking about, how would you clearly uh, explain that? When you're justifying a decision, it's not just justifying, like I have to justify myself, that kind of a negative connotation. It's like, what is the story? What is the reasoning? Where did your thinking come from? What are the parts of the thinking that you've done that's led you to this conclusion? So it's actually been able to synthesize and articulate our reasoning here. And in our coaching roles, we will actually be doing that. We will be helping people articulate, synthesize, be clear about the messages they're communicating, how they're communicating, and of course the list goes on. So I'm quite excited today, and of course, as I said, we have a whole module on this um, in our diploma of leadership coaching, and I know we're right on time. So quite excited today to present to you a couple of things. The behaviors of a critical thinker, how we apply that critical thinking in the world of AI, and most importantly, the role of the coach and how our coaching questions can drop out. So there you go. Feel free to take the little model that we've produced here, create your own coaching question bank, look for opportunities to coach, stretch people around their critical thinking and really bring that idea of a growth mindset, a stronger mindset, innovation that comes from critical thinking, bring that stretch to the coaching conversations as well. Alrighty, as we say, it's always fast and furious. We've already mentioned this as part of our Diploma of Leadership Coaching, so feel free to reach out to us if it's something you want to explore more. As always, we say thank you for joining us. Thanks for allowing us to spend this time with you and have these robust conversations. And as always, we say enjoy your coaching. We look forward to catching up with you at our next Coaching Cafe. Thank you so much, Paula, for being part of this today.
No worries at all.